Are you familiar with the strategy called shoeboxing your HSA? It harnesses a little known trick secret with your HSA that has enormous wealth building potential. I'm using this trick. I want you to as well. I've got that more coming up. HSA's health savings accounts are extremely versatile, and there's a little known trick that I'm using I want you to use as well that can actually add another zero onto your total investment portfolio or your total net worth. It has that much potential for building wealth. Here's how the HSA works. If you're not familiar, a health savings account, you are eligible to open up and fund a health savings account if you have an HSA eligible or HSA qualifying high deductible health plan, or now these days also you have a bronze marketplace plan. So healthcare.gov, bronze plans now automatically eligible for HSA, but still it's going to tell you HSA eligible plan. If you have that, then you are able to, you're not required to, you're able to open up a special tax shelter account called a health savings account. You can make contributions up to the IRS limits into this HSA. That contribution is deductible. The interest and growth on this account is all tax sheltered. And then when you use these dollars, when you withdraw them out of your HSA for qualifying medical expenses, they come out tax-free. So that's the trifecta. Those are three tax benefits: tax deduction on the way in, tax sheltered growth, and then tax-free withdrawal. It's the only thing in the tax code that offers all three of these. And what are some potential medical expenses? Prescriptions, copays, deductibles. There's a long list. Glasses, right? Dental work. Like there is a long list, a growing list of things that you can use your HSA for. So it's extremely powerful. You need to have a qualifying high deductible health plan. You can't have any other health insurance, so you can't double dip. It's got to be this plan. And then, yeah, the IRS sets a contribution limit every single year. You can see those on the screen right now. And you can contribute, get that deduction, withdraw the dollars for qualifying medical expenses, get a huge tax benefit. Now, the little known trick with this HSA harnesses this strategy called shoeboxing your HSA. It harnesses two truths about your HSA, and either one of these you may not be familiar with, but it's really the combination of the two that make the strategy so potent and so effective for building wealth. One without the other, it loses its appeal, okay? So it harnesses two truths about the HSA, and one is that you can reimburse yourself from your HSA out there in the future for a qualifying medical expense you have today. You can reimburse yourself out there in the future. That's one truth. Seems bizarre that they'd let you do that, but it's allowed. And then second, that you're allowed to invest your HSA. Now, either one of those you might have already known about, maybe you know about both, but many people, they have their HSA set up by their HR company. Okay, we've got a qualifying high deductible health plan. Do you want to open up an HSA? Check this box. How much you want to contribute? Okay. And then HSA Bank or whatever it is, the money just goes in there. You don't realize you can invest it. You don't realize what your options are. And again, going back to the first truth, it seems bizarre that you're allowed to hold onto a receipt, shoebox, throw it in your shoebox, if you will, and just hold onto it, and out there in the future say, yeah, I'm going to take this money out and reimburse myself for that expense I had 20 years ago, and that the IRS would be okay with it. But it is. That is how it works. So this shoeboxing strategy is extremely important. It literally can mean thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, adding zeros to your investment portfolio or net worth if you do this effectively, and it harnesses those two truths. So let's go through a case study so you can see just how effective it is. Say you are 45 years old and you've got an HSA eligible high deductible health plan. So you open up an HSA and you contribute $4,000 into it this year. And the IRS maximum is a little bit higher than that, but let's just use round numbers. You put $4,000 in, and let's pretend it's an awful year for you from a health standpoint. You've got, a lot of out-of-pocket medical expenses. Turns out you have exactly $4,000 of medical expenses. Yeah, bummer, right? But instead of withdrawing the $4,000 that you just put in your HSA, instead of withdrawing it right now and using that to pay your medical expenses, you instead find another $4,000 out of cash flow or out of your savings account, whatever, and you leave the $4,000 in your HSA, but you pay all these medical expenses that you've incurred out of your pocket. So now you're out $8,000, okay? In this scenario, you hold on to all the receipts and maybe you save them in electronic folder and create a spreadsheet, and you've got that shoebox, if you will, digital shoebox. And that's your approach. If you do that, okay, then the dollars in your HSA are really not short-term dollars, so therefore you can invest them for the long term. And let's say just this 1 year, okay, just this one, or we can stack them on top here in a second, but just this 1 year, you invest your HSA and let it grow for 20 years. You don't touch it. And it's only this $4,000, and you leave it in for 20 years. Say it earns 8% compound. That $4,000 grows to be over $18,000. And you might say, well, that's not going to add zeros. Okay, that did move a decimal point, but it's not that big a deal. Okay, $4,000 to $18,000. But if you did that every year, think of the potential, right? If it were to earn 10%, now we're almost $27,000, right? And a diversified portfolio, we don't know what the market's going to do in the future. In the past, averaging 10% a year, very, very realistic. So now think about this. You show up at age 65, at retirement, near retirement, about to shift on to Medicare, where current laws, when you're on Medicare, you cannot contribute to an HSA. So instead of having nothing in your HSA because you played the hokey pokey, you put it in and then you pull it right back out for the current medical expenses, you've got those receipts from 20 years ago adding up to $4,000. But now your HSA is over $18,000. Now you can pull that $4,000 out of your HSA to reimburse yourself for those expenses. And you still have then $14,000 left. And you might say, well, wait a second, now that $14,000, that's just stranded. No, it's not. That you can use that $14,000 left over for medical expenses that you have in retirement, right? For your medical bills. You can actually pay for your Medicare Part B out of that. You will have ongoing medical expenses that is there, and all of that money came out tax-free. Because you might look at this and say, what I really dislike about it is if I'm just funding my HSA and then using it for medical expenses, it's a $4,000, I'm out of pocket $4,000. And if I do this shoeboxing strategy, I'm out of pocket $8,000. Who has the flexibility for that? No, guys, you could say, well, I'll just use my HSA to pay for these medical expenses and I'll take my other $4,000 and I'll invest it. Yeah, but you'd invest it and it would all be taxable. Right? You wouldn't have that tax growth. Either you say, no, I will, because I'm going to do Roth. Well, you don't get a tax deduction. Okay, it would come out tax-free, but you wouldn't get a tax deduction. Well, fine, I'll contribute pre-tax to my 401k or my traditional IRA. You get the deduction, but then you got to pay tax on the back end. The HSA harnesses the best of both worlds, pre-tax in, tax-free out, and you really harness it when you allow it to grow. Because think about it, that $4,000 at age 25 all the way until 65 grows to over $18,000. What if you were doing that each and every year? Think about the potential, the tax-free potential that this could accumulate to literally adding another zero to your overall investment portfolio, another zero to your overall net worth. It is that potent. So, are you leveraging this trick? Are you this little known secret with your HSA and the wealth building power based on these two rules that, yep, you can reimburse yourself out there in the future for a qualifying medical expense today. And because you are future-minded with your HSA, you can actually invest your HSA. Yep, leveraging those two truths to have even more, a greater wealth-building potential of your HSA. Work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team that's helping you with creative strategies like that, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.